Support on the table or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, I guess it's.
I got a message on my phone.
Yeah.
I've
been there.
Except for the gallery. They're making everybody walk.
Yeah.
The gallery.
It's there.
Of course. Yeah. Popcorn.
Yeah.
It was big flat. You're on the clock.
White chip. White chip.
It's gonna be a big race.
Phone call. Staff environment.
Yes. She's that. She's it is residential.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council committee meeting. We're already middle of May. I can't believe it, 2025. I'll ask our CAO for the roll call, please.
Thank you very much. We will start with the chair, Deputy Mayor Sanderson.
Present.
Mayor Blair.
Present.
Councilor Weatherby.
Present.
Councilor Richardson.
Present.
Councilor Cooper.
Present.
Councilor Johnson.
Present.
Councilor Leggett.
Present.
Councilor Martell.
Present.
Councilor Patton. Councilor Benoit.
Present.
Councilor Fletcher.
Present.
Councilor Kennedy.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you. In peace and friendship and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, I acknowledge that Municipality of Colchester is in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. You have an agenda before you. Are there any additions, any deletions, any changes that you wish to make? Hearing any? Oh, Councilor Cooper?
Just a quick question. I know it was talked on there for the presentation meeting regarding the library. Is there anything we're gonna do on that? Does that need to be brought up by one of us? My understanding we brought forward by staff, but is that right or wrong?
Through the chair. So that would be part of the presentation agendas that come through the deputy clerk. So they would have applied and they will be part of the process.
No, they applied, they were here and presented.
So I'm sorry, through the chair, what's the question?
Yeah, they wanted us to send a motion through to NSFM to put on their advisory committees to study.
So,
The funding formula from the province.
so they're looking for a motion from council.
So, yeah, I asked that night and it was my understanding it was gonna come forward, but just trying to see how it's gonna come forward.
Okay, so,
So
perhaps if you're looking to add an agenda item, it would just simply be follow up from
So
the,
I can put it on the agenda then?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, that's good.
12B,
you got it.
Thank you.
library motion.
Yes.
All right, anything else? Councilor Kennedy, Councilor Cooper, can you turn your mic off, please?
Yes, I'm concerned with the connector road between Covington Place and Osprey, and every time I try to check out what the status of that is, I'm not hearing very much, so I know they're having a meeting on the 21st. And they've asked me to go, and I feel uncomfortable being at a meeting without a whole lot of history. And anyway, that's my concern.
Please.
So just through the chair, so I think if you're looking for information or background, staff can certainly supply you with that information before you would go to a meeting. There's not currently a item specific to that that's moving forward.
Okay, so leave it with staff.
Well, we will get the information to you. Just if you're looking for an actual update on
Yeah.
that road and the history of it, we can get that to you before the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
When is the meeting, Councilor?
21st, I believe.
Of May?
Yeah.
Next week.
Mhm.
All right. Are we okay with the agenda as it's been amended? Motion to okay, question's been called. No, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Don't get ahead of yourself now.
Yeah.
So moved by Councilor Cooper, seconded by Councilor Johnson. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Counter-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. And we have minutes from April 8th, April 10th, and April 15th. The 8th was the maintenance budget presentation. The 10th was our committee meeting, and then the 15th additions and deletions, and those minutes were circulated. Are there any errors or omissions? Prepared to move approval? Counselor Kennedy moves approval of those minutes, and Counselor Patton, you had your hand up for seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? No hands up, so we'll move on to our action items then. We have the Debert sewer service boundary, and I'll ask Michelle, our Director of Public Works, to address this, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The item before you relates to the creation of a sewer service boundary for Debert. Council would have seen sewer service boundaries for the rest of the municipality in May of 2024. Sewer service boundaries were created in 93 as part of our service delivery strategy. And essentially boundaries are used to define where development should happen, where it makes most sense to happen, and is intended to eliminate less efficient sprawl of development. So as I said, in May of 2024, council did look at all of our other sewer service boundaries. We had a couple of tweaks and those were approved a year ago. And this item is intended to create a sewer service boundary for Debert. When we took over the lands in Debert in 2008, we did apply sewer rates to the properties in the area, but we didn't create a sewer service boundary at the time. And that was put on the back burner until the future development of Debert was better defined. So now we've gotten to the point where our future land use planning has been completed, and it makes more sense now to apply a sewer boundary in Debert. So in your item here, there is proposed sewer service boundary Debert. As I said, I will note that most properties in Debert were paying sewer service rate to begin with. So the boundary is just a way to formalize how development is going to be guided in the coming years in Debert, to maximize services as they exist now. So the options before council are to approve the boundary presented, or to present any specific concerns to staff or any proposed changes.
Thank you, Michelle. Are there any questions for Michelle? Is anybody prepared to put a motion on the floor? Counselor Benoit, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll make a motion that council committee recommends to council that the Debert sewer service boundary be approved as presented.
Thank you. The seconder? Second. Patton? Any further discussion on the motion? Weatherby, please.
Through the chair to Michelle, if I had one question. It says your properties included within the sewer boundary or within the service boundary will see the sewer rate added to their tax bill. Does it matter whether you're connected to it or not?
Through the chair, so standard approach is any property in a sewer service boundary pays the rate. Council did make one exception when we extended the sewer line to the bale field to collect leachate. The decision was made that anyone connecting to that specific line would pay the rate if they were connected, but people who weren't connected wouldn't pay. But that is an isolated case where council hasn't agreed to apply the rate to everybody in the boundary.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Discussion? Questions been called. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion carries. Thank you, Michelle. And you're on again for the next action item, sewer boundary extensions in Onslow.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the item before council here relates to two requested sewer boundary extensions in Onslow. So the general concept with sewer service boundaries is that they are an approved boundary by council, and any changes to those boundaries must be approved by council. So the two requests were sent into the CAO in January of 2025, and they include an extension of the boundary on Board Landing Road and off of Matland Drive, both in Onslow. Included in your item are some of the policy statements in the updated municipal planning strategy. And they essentially speak to encouraging higher density development within serviced areas and really maximizing the infrastructure and the investments in those serviced areas. And that's why it's important for council to take a look at any request for service boundary extension. So here there are two areas. You can see those items in your package. Area A is on Board Landing Road. It includes an extension of the boundary for 40 new residential lots. It also includes a request for 5 future commercial buildings, but Lot A is zoned R2. And so if council should agree to extend the boundary there, it would be purely for residential purposes. And the applicant would be reminded that a rezoning would be required should they want to do commercial development there. Staff have reviewed there is adequate sewer capacity downstream to accommodate the proposed 40 residential lots on Board Landing. And in speaking with planning, given the proximity to the highway, the nearby school amenities, the existing sewer network, it does make sense in this area to extend the boundary to include those particular lots. The second area B, is on Matland Drive. The proposed development includes 26 new residential lots. The lot in question is already zoned R2, which is what is being proposed. So no rezoning would be required here. The one challenge on this request is that in order to service Lot B with sewer, they would have to cut a sewer line through a park space that was dedicated to the county as part of the adjacent development a couple of years ago. And while functionally it can work to run the sewer line through the park area, it would have an impact on what we do in the park and how we work around a sewer easement, because no permanent play structures or whatnot could be installed over that sewer line. So not impossible, but also less convenient. And I noted too that the development adjacent to Lot B was built by the same person requesting the boundary exchange as well. So in this area, there are existing land uses. It is a mixture of residential, commercial, agricultural. In this case, staff don't believe the extension of the boundary to accommodate the request is not being recommended. So options for council are to, recommend approval of one or both or neither. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Anybody prepared to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd put a motion on the floor that council committee approve both requested sewer service boundary extensions, Board Landing Road and Matland Drive, and I'd like to speak on it.
We have a seconder. Councillor Patton seconds the motion. Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. I was over and had a look at these, back last fall when they were working on the other space, maybe Somerville, the other one there. After talking to Blair, it's Blair Walls, the developer here. Blair had no intentions at that time of purchasing the land beside it and moving it over, so I think that's why he didn't probably either for room for sewer capacity will cost it. But I understand it is green space, it is recreational land, but I think what the trade-off would be here is that we're looking at 26 lots. They're going to be affordable housing. When I say affordable, somewhere between 275 and 3 1/4, whether they're prefab or stand up or stick built, I don't know, but we do certainly need the housing. There's no question about that. It's in a pretty good area from where I sit. And I think the trade-off would be if we're going to lose recreational space, meaning that I don't think we're going to lose it. It's still there. It's underground. They need capacity for sewer with the underground, so it's not as if it's totally gone. I think we could probably trade off some lots on the 26 if we needed some recreation space there for these. So that's the reason that I'm in favor of this, is that I like the area. I like the dollar figure that we're trying to get with the homes, and 26 lots. I don't think we turn these down.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Stuff? Oh, sorry. I see. This is fixed. Councillor Cooper.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I guess on that same view, if I go through to Michelle, please. So Michelle, it says in the quotes there, talks about inefficient way of extending sewer services and running through an existing park parcel. As far as the park parcel goes, does it eliminate the use, or is it just you just wouldn't want to put it there if you had somewhere else to put it, sort of thing? I'm trying to figure this out in my head.
Through the chair, it doesn't eliminate the use of the park, but when we run a sewer line through a park, in the event it needs to be dug up at any time, we usually place a 10-meter wide easement on top of it, so nothing permanent could be installed within this 10-meter strip. It is a smaller park, so having this 10-meter strip, which is probably 15 or 20% of the lot, be unusable. It doesn't make it non-usable, you know, it could be a trail, it could be anything that's non-permanent, but when it comes to structures or buildings or play sets, they couldn't be in that 10 meter. So again, as I said, it doesn't eliminate the use of the park, it simply restricts some.
I just worry that as we develop this, the park would become more useful. So is there, in your opinion, is there another way to do it that, you know, that involves a little more ingenuity on our part and other people's part to make this happen and not do it the way it's presented right here?
Through the chair, no, in order to run by gravity, just because of the grades in the area, they would have to cut across the existing development, and so the park is really the only, all of the other lots are building lots, so the park is the only.
That's a fair question.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
just trying to get my head around this. So it says here about they didn't leave the ability to go from the other subdivision to this new one. Is that still, there's no way to reincorporate that to make it
No, so,
use that other subdivision to go?
yeah, through the chair, so the lots that are adjacent to lots, the proposed area B are all created, subdivided, so there's no way to modify that now, they're all
Yeah.
building lots, yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Right, any further discussion? Mayor Blair.
Thank you. I hesitate here, but in the third bullet, Matlin Drive, it says, in staff's view, while this is physically possible, it is less than ideal and in staff's view represents an inefficient way of extending sewer services. It would also limit the usability of the space for residents, and our director of Public Works has already explained that of how it would be limited. And through the chair to our director, has another area been identified? And that would be my first question. Has another area been identified to put this sewer line in by the developer or working with the municipality?
Through the chair, no, but as I said, because of the grades, they would have to pump, so in order to stay within the road right of way, they would have to pump, which is cost prohibitive. And so it's just simply because of the layout of the sewer system, they do have to cut across to the adjacent subdivision somehow, whether it's through our park or through an existing property of some.
The second point, if I may, Madam Chair, the comment was staff does not believe an extension of the sewer boundary to accommodate this request is supported by council's updated municipal planning strategy. And that would be a concern for me. Thank you.
Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through to Michelle. How is stormwater management assigned to this property? Is there a blanket policy across the whole county regarding stormwater retention? Thank you.
Through the chair, so should council decide to approve the boundary extension, the subdivision process would follow as our typical process usually does. So they would have to submit tentative plans, stormwater design, infrastructure design. So as part of that design process, we would look at stormwater. Extending the boundary doesn't give approval to build a subdivision. It just allows them to proceed to the design phase.
Thank you.
Councillor Weatherby, please.
Thank you, Deputy Chair.
You turned your mic off, just,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
there you
I
go.
turned it on.
Oh, now you gotta turn, you're good.
Through yourself to Michelle. Since this is the same developer that's doing both these properties or both these developments, is there a possibility that maybe that lot 4 or 5 on the previous development could be used for recreation? Is there maybe a trade-off that he would be willing to do in order to facilitate this?
Through the chair, I don't have property online in front of me, but I believe the model for the adjacent subdivision was that the developer has installed the services, built the roads, the lots have been created to a third party for building houses. I can't confirm if those lots are specifically sold.
They weren't.
You know, our interest will be to, through the subdivision process, maintain adequate parkland, and so we could negotiate if a submission is made for tentative approval for this new subdivision, to make sure that there is more park space included in the new subdivision to compensate for the loss.
Is there another opportunity if they don't do this to connect to sewer?
Through the chair, no.
Okay, are the lots large enough to have on-site septic?
Through the chair, not in the preliminary plan that we have.
Okay, thank you. So maybe some negotiations in order?
Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you. I spoke to Blair Walls and he's with the understanding he may have to trade off a water tube to get what he wants for green space, and he's okay with that. And the second point I'll bring up, this doesn't seem a whole lot different than the next piece on the agenda here. We're actually purchasing easements for waterways and Tatamagouche through people's property. So if we're doing that there, we're buying it, aren't we really doing the same thing? But what we're doing here, we're opening up a subdivision for 24, 25 houses for affordable housing. It's a big thing, I say. So if he doesn't get this, he will walk away. There'd be no on-site sewer. And although Michelle does know the cost of a pumping station, it's just not looking at lots and trying to get a price point on a couple $100,000 here. We're pretty bad for it. So personally, I like it. It's in a good area. We're doing the same thing we've been doing there. All we're doing is making a minor change on the green space, put it somewhere else. It's still limited, but it doesn't totally take out of the equation for green space. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Cooper, please.
Thank you, Chair, just for the time of it. I go back to you to Michelle, please. So just to clarify, we passed everything, like, for both streets, both subdivisions. At that point in time, we wouldn't be going back afterwards and trying to negotiate anything, would we? It's all be set. Is that correct? Or can that be part of it? Just.
Sorry, Paul, you can-
I can try to answer your question through the chair. Yeah, we wouldn't be negotiating. As Michelle explained, the sewer service boundary just outlines the area that's intended to be serviced by public sewer. It's not until you reach a tentative plan of subdivision, which is sort of the first step, which time triggers, the requirements for recreation space and so on. And it's only at that point that could we ever begin to look for sort of replacement land for the lost recreational space that had been allocated through the original, the initial phase for anything new in the area. And just to sort of reemphasize what the mayor has pointed out is that we want to try to avoid creep of these sewer service boundaries. The plan is the new strategy, as has all strategies that have been in effect since 92, have said, we have loads of capacity within our existing sewer service boundaries. And, it's in the municipality's best interest to maximize the use of those investments and try to infill, where it is. So there's a lot of land left along Onslow Road, Highway 2 that's vacant. Can be, probably will be, should be developed. It falls within the existing sewer boundary. So we've dealt with a number of these cases over the years. I think way back in Valley, Brian Phelan had wanted to extend the sewer service boundary under the highway up to Upper Brookside Road, I guess, and which was council of the day decided not to. That it was confident that there was ample capacity within its existing sewer service boundaries and that should suffice. So while it may look like it's sort of an extension of an existing subdivision, the reality is Matlin Drive is serviced by on-site systems, and it's amounting to just creep, and it's something that our policies try to discourage, just to avoid the costs of urban sprawl.
Yeah, I think that answers my question, so. I'm not gonna support that one. And if he comes back with something different, future, not with that, but let's do the other one.
Thank you. Councillor Leggett, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to Paul. I remember the Brian Phelan proposal at the time. He wanted to develop chalet lots for housing up on the right-hand side of Brookside Road, past the north side of the fire hall. It was turned down, and now we have another industrial park starting on the north side of the highway on Phelan property. It's no longer Phelan property. And guess what I'm afraid of is the exact same thing happened to Hub Center Drive. That a whole bunch of businesses in there putting on septics, then said, oh, now we got to put sewer in there. So if we have an opportunity to service an area and not get ourselves in trouble, why wouldn't we? But by the same token, let's try and work with people who want to develop ground, even if it's not in our magic zone. It all benefits us in the long run. Thank you.
So that's all the discussion. Anything further? Ready for the question? And what we're voting on is the number 3, that council committee could recommend to approve both requested sewer service boundary extensions, Board Landing Road and Matlin Drive. I heard the question was called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Hey,
And I'm a nay.
Anthony?
So names, Mayor, Councillor Weatherby, Mayor Blair, Councillor Cooper, Sanderson, Benoit, and Fletcher.
So you have a tie, so the motion's defeated.
Motion is defeated because we have a tie.
Second.
You can put another motion forward. Councillor, Mayor Blair, please.
I'd like to split the motions if we may, Madam Chair. I would, that council committee recommend to council to approve the requested sewer service boundary extension on Board Landing Road for proposed residential uses only.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Cooper. Any further discussion on the motion? Ready for the question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. That motion carries unanimously. And did you want to put another motion forward, Mayor?
That the council committee recommend to council not to approve the requested sewer service boundary extension for Matlin Drive.
You have a seconder? Sorry.
It's just
Not
like,
quite sure of how the wording should be.
so actually, by defeating the first motion, you haven't approved it. So you actually don't need a negative motion. It's not in the boundary.
Of course,
So-
not a negative, vote.
right.
Yes.
So we're, Councillor Johnson, please.
Okay, I'll put a motion back on the floor. I think I can because personally it's different than this one. That we approve the sewer, recommend the sewer boundary extension for Matlin Drive. And I'd like to speak on it here again, please.
Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Patton. Go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. So what this sends a message to me is that either we're open for business or we're not open for business here in the county of Colchester for what I call available housing that's affordable. Just by doing rough figures, go take my calculator, I'm looking at $7.5 million here in real estate dollars. So that equates to probably 70 or 75,000 bucks here in taxes. I don't think we're really upsetting the apple cart here by running sewer from one piece to the other. It's underground. We could trade off space if it was need be. I don't think recreation has targeted anything for this area because it's so newly developed over there, and it's not that big an area populated anyway. So I don't know what we're trying to send here, but like I said before, good area. If you don't want to approve housing, then you know what, you might as well put the sign up and say approve.
Mayor Blair, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I totally disagree with Councillor Johnson. Colchester County is open for business. We have always been open for business. And we welcome housing, but we have rules to follow. And the rules that we're following are called the municipal planning strategy. And I believe that we need to listen to the professionals that we have on staff when recommendations are made. So if it is not in the best interests of our municipality to do this as indicated, without having an alternative, we do need to have an alternative if we're going to have this sewer line go through. And I've asked the question, is there another place? And
Sorry, it's fire. I couldn't shut it off.
oh,
They just happened.
if there is no alternative, then we need to go back to the drawing board with the developer and find out what can be done, what the developer is prepared to do. And while I appreciate, you know, the fact that questions have been asked, it is council that makes that decision. So I think that we need to give this some serious consideration, and perhaps the recommendation of council and committee is to go back and speak with the developer further to see if there is an alternative to the proposal that has been put on here, or if some other land can be used for green space, whatever the situation is, and whatever would comply with our municipal planning strategy.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Patton, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to mention as well, this isn't the first request for residents off Matlin Drive, not just developers that would like that sewer extension. So I'm fully in support. And I just want to compliment Councillor Johnson on very well said. Are we open or not for business? And I believe we can do these types of things to help developers in this area move forward on the housing that we so desperately need.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. Councillor Benmont, please.
Thank you, Chair. I agree. I know housing is a top priority for the municipality and for our residents, and I agree with that. I am listening to staff because I don't know a whole lot about sewer, and staff does, in my opinion. So, but is it an option for us to? I would be okay with approving this, but I like the idea of coming up with some alternative solutions as well. And I don't want to see green space affected. I'm very much a fan for making sure that gets used as well for residents and families. But I just wonder if that's something that we can go back to the developer, refer to staff to go back to the developer to have a conversation.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. Can I go with you to Councillor Patton, please?
Yes.
Just to get a clarification, did you say that residents on Matlin were looking to have this come into their?
When I first came on council. Yeah, back in 2020, 21, I had some residents who were building at that time wanting the sewer extended.
Okay.
Not the
But there had-
developer, these were individual
Okay.
residents.
Okay, I was trying to get clear. So it's not like Granville when everybody's sewer was dead. They want sewer water to take place. So people can build, people on like on site there now, and they can still build on site there on that one. So it's just preferred option there then.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm still not gonna support right this time. I'm in the same boat. I agree with Councillor Johnson. I think it'd be a great thing. But I just want to see if there's some way we can have our cake and eat it too here, sort of thing. So I'd like to go back and ask some questions and see what we can come up with, sort of thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patton, please.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I think to Councillor Benoit's point, Councillor Johnson had mentioned that the developer has agreed to find an alternative space for a green space. So, I mean, that's about all we can ask for, isn't it? Swap.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. Councillor Weatherby, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through your, I guess more to Dan or maybe our legal. If we don't approve this as part of the sewer boundary now, can it come back and be added later?
CAO, please.
Through the chair. So it's council's purview to add or anything at any time with regards to these boundaries are set. Typically add means expand. It doesn't usually mean retract when you're
Right.
talking about these. In this particular case, and I recognize the conversation has entered into green space because of a pipe being proposed to go through green space. The conversation before council is really about size of boundary and all those other parts. And I think to Paul's comments are then part of your discussion with regards to the subdivision approval, because effectively right now we have an empty piece of land. And so, you know, those negotiations with regards to if the desire is to increase green space in the area through the deletion of lots, staff would go forward with that as a mandate and trying to move the second part of that. This is simply at this point about to add a pipe or not to add a pipe to bring that area into the boundary or not.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think this could come back then, that being the case, if that's the decision of the developer. As far as the green space, in a lot of cases, we have too much of it in the county. I know there are areas that are considering selling off green space because the cost of maintaining the green space, if it isn't used effectively, becomes a burden to the system. So I think that, I can support the motion so far. But there's no reason why the developer can't come back if he wants to comply with the requirements. So
CAO, please.
Certainly, sorry, through the chair. So certainly if there's specific questions that council are looking to be asked, we certainly are happy to take those back to the developer. And whether it's from committee to council process or whether it's through a second process back through, either way. And I think, as you see, we received the application in January, and the flow or the ability to receive affluent isn't the issue. It's just the developer knew these properties were outside of the boundary and was looking to try and get them included. So again, kind of just the single question being looked at tonight.
Mayor Blair, please.
The other thing is where we're council and committee, this is a recommendation to council. And this is not a decision, so it can be changed in due course.
Thank you. Councilor Cooper, please.
Yeah, could I hear the motion again?
Yep.
It's-
The motion is number 2, that we recommend to council to approve the requested sewer service boundary extension on Matlin Drive.
So there's nothing coming back to council, and we approve it and it's done.
Recommend to council.
Yeah, but I mean, council approves it too, and that's the way it is. It's done.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not a, thing's coming back to us. No, okay. Gonna approve it myself.
Mayor Blair?
It's a recommendation to council. It's not a decision of
No, I
council.
want to know what kind of recommendation it was.
That's the recommendation.
Yeah, I just heard when I was talking, heard Councilor Weatherby talking there, it sounded like referring to things coming back to council, so I think nothing's coming back to council.
CAO.
CAO,
So tonight at committee, if it's approved, in 2 weeks, it would come to council. And so I guess based on if there was incremental information that was needed, certainly we can bring that forward if it was required. But then to Councillor Weatherby's comment is that could it ever come back at another time? The answer is yes, it could also come back at another time if it didn't proceed. But also between now and council, so to the question of green space was a question that needed to be answered by council. That also could be put on the table as far as information to the developer.
A little disconnect there.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So we have a motion before us, number 2, concerning Matlin Drive. Are you ready for the question? Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay.
Nay.
I'm a nay. So Councillor Weatherby's a nay, Mayor Blair's a nay, Councillor Cooper's a nay. Nay, Sanderson. Who else down here? Councillor Fletcher.
That's fine, so
So
it passed.
it passes. Motion has carried. All right. Moving along. Item 7, award of tender for the Tatamagouche sewer replacement. And I'll ask our Director of Public Works, please, to address this.
Madam Chair. The item before you relates to the award of a construction tender for replacement of the trunk sewer in Tatamagouche. This item came before council in April, and council authorized May committee to make a decision, which would be required if the tenders came in over budget. And so the council's 5-year capital budget includes 3 years worth of trunk sewer replacements in Tatamagouche over the next 3 years. And staff tendered half of that work this year, looking to do a bit more this year and get some economies of scale by tackling a bit more of the work. And so we did create drawings in-house. We issued a public tender for replacement about half of the trunk sewer. In terms of the original sewer, it was built in 1965. It is old clay pipe carrying a lot of groundwater and rainwater. So our recent capacity studies recommended replacing that concrete pipe. And at the same time, we'll be increasing the size so that we can increase capacity for future development. So we did receive 3 bids for that work. SW Weeks were the lowest bid at $984,450. Their tender is deemed to be complete. If awarded the work, they would start June 2nd, and it would take about 17 weeks to reach completion. So looking through council's 5-year capital budget over the next 3 years, the amount that we tendered, council had budgeted $687,500 for the work. So as council can tell, the bids came in quite high. All 3 of them were in the same range, and so I don't believe this is a case of overpricing the work. It is quite a deep sewer, and we do have to redo a section of road surface as well to carry out the work. The council does decide to proceed with the award with staff time, materials testing, whatnot. The total commitment is 1.135 million. The other item to note as well is that after council approved this on the 5-year capital budget, we were awarded some grid funding from the province for the work in Tatamagouche. And we are getting 50 cent dollars for that work as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Councillor Martel, please.
I'd like to make the motion that council committee award the tender for the replacement of 450 meters of sewers, sanitary sewer between Creamery Road and the Tatamagouche Legion in Tatamagouche to SW Weeks Construction Limited for a total contract amount of $984,450, excluding HST, with an anticipated total project value of $1,135,000.
Thank you. We have a seconder.
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Blair. Any discussion, Councillor Johnson, please?
Thank you, Deputy. Just through you to Michelle, if I could. I see there was easements negotiated here, so I'd like to know roughly how many there was and what do we have to do to satisfy the homeowners? Is it a cash settlement or how do we do this?
Through the chair, maybe to Dennis, does that need to be any camera discussion if it's an agreement?
If it's already agreed to, then it doesn't have to be in camera. If we're in the process of negotiating with some who haven't signed on yet, so it should be in camera.
There's one that hasn't signed on.
So it's a question that should be answered in camera.
Okay, Bill.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'd still like to know.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Certainly, through the chair, Councillor Johnson, you can reach out to me directly and I can provide.
I don't even know when
That's fine. Thank you. Your microphone there, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Leggett, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through Michelle. I'm looking at the numbers here. I can't get my head wrapped around. We budgeted 500,000 and we have a capital reserve for 500,000. So it looks to me like the budget for this project, although it's higher than 687, is it still under our master budget?
The total budget for the 3 phases of work is 1.3 million. And this tender only covers half of the work, so we are over budget. Sorry, is that what you were asking, Councillor?
Yeah, I see 500,000, 500,000 and 187,000 for the other 120 meters, which we figured was gonna be, I can't figure that was included in 687 to start with. And now we're 300,000 above where we asked what our estimate was.
No, so in current fiscal, we budgeted 500,000. Next fiscal, we budgeted another 500,000,
Okay.
but we're only doing half of what was planned for next fiscal, roughly, which is why the budget number is 687.
Okay. All right.
So we're kind of doing a portion of next year's budgeted work, but not the whole.
All right. Thank you.
Anything further? We have, Councillor Weatherby, please.
Through the chair to Michelle as well. Just to clarify things, the grant we're getting, does that come off the 1.135?
Through the chair, so the way the grants work is the province will give us 50 cent dollars up to a maximum. So they've committed $650,000 to us. So we will bill them for half of the work until we reach
So
650,000.
that will come off what we're having to pay weeks. Is that correct?
Half, yes. Well, up to, yes, it will. Sorry.
Thank you.
The next phase is where we'll start to run into not having funding coverage.
Okay. Just because there is quite a bit higher than the original estimates, and the next phase is likely gonna have to have higher estimates, I would say. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, we have a motion before us to replace the sanitary sewer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next item, number 8, 2 1.5 ton trucks, wastewater collection and award of tender. Over to Michelle again, please.
Madam Chair, and I believe this is my last item. So this item relates to the purchase of 2 1.5 ton trucks for wastewater collection. These trucks are used in the spring and summer to haul materials, and they're both used for plowing roads in the wintertime. Both trucks are 5 and 6 years old, and our goal with these heavy use vehicles, in particular if they're salting in the wintertime, is to replace them in that 5 to 6 year time frame when possible. Council's approved capital budget, the 5-year budget, did include the replacement of one of these trucks last fiscal and one of these trucks this fiscal. And so what we did is we combined them both into one tender for this year. We did tender them publicly in March, and as you can see, we received 2 bids for both trucks, one from Bruce Leasing and one from Hollis Ford. Because they're both bidding on the same Ford truck, both tenders included some minor non-conformances, but that was more of the case where we would have specified, a gas tank size of a certain size, but truck only comes with a tank that's 10 liters bigger. So nothing in the non-compliances gave us pause. So the lowest bidder is Bruce Leasing. We did not include a trade-in on the used vehicles. We will continue to send those to Ritchie Brothers as we have been doing with our vehicles for the last year or so. So in this case, council could award the tender to Bruce Leasing for both vehicles for $253,980. Council's approved budget for the 2 trucks is slightly less, which is why this has come to council. So the total expense if we buy through Bruce with tax is $264,865, but council's approved budget is $257 for both.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle? Councillor Patton, please.
I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor, Deputy Mayor. The council committee recommends to council that staff be authorized to proceed with the purchase of 2 1.5 ton trucks with dump body and plow from Bruce Leasing for a total financial commitment of $264,865.58. Is that right? Excluding HST with some or that includes HST? Okay, with source of funds being the Public Works Vehicle Reserve.
Thank you. We have a seconder? Counselor Fletcher? Any further discussion on the motion? Counselor Leggett?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through to Michelle. Do we still have the competitive clause in the county? If somebody's in with 3% over certain amounts of dollars or something on projects or tenders? Like for $2,700 in the difference, I would make the motion or defeat the motion and go buy local. Versus just for $5,400 in the difference.
Our solicitor, please.
Your policy, which is governed by the Provincial Procurement Act and guidelines, you're allowed to apply it for goods under 25,000.
Okay.
So you're outside the range where you can apply it.
Thank you.
Counselor Martell, please.
Through the chair, where is Bruce Leasing located? Are they a Colchester County business?
No. In Vernon Valley, in Atlas Valley.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything further? Ready for the question?
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Nay from Counselor Leggett. Motion carries. Okay. On to item 9, which is the community event grant request, Great Village and District Fire Brigade's 100th anniversary. And we've got Craig Burgess online. Craig, do you want to take this one, please?
Sure. Good evening, Chair, Council. In front of you, you have the Great Village, the Great Village District and Fire Brigade. They're looking for funding through the community event grant and for their 100th anniversary. And this event will happen on August 16th. The request is they're requesting for 5,000 and they're expecting about 300 participants and followers coming to the event. And they sent this application in early April, and we were back and forth with a couple of budget items. They do have a budget item for the complete package or complete event, as well as they attached another one for what the request for council would be and what that would cover. Typically, the event grant, maximum of 3 years. This would be the first time that they would be asking for this. And I have a couple options, but what staff is recommending is 4,000 would go to support this event. In our budget deliberations, we had approved for 21,826 out of a $60,000 budget for community event grant. So I'd like to open it up for the floor for any discussion or comments.
Thank you very much, Craig. Counselor Fletcher, please.
I want to make a motion.
Sure, go ahead.
That council committee recommend to council that 5,000 be approved for the Great Village and District Fire Brigade 100th anniversary event. And I'd like to.
Okay, so we have a seconder of that? Counselor Patton? Okay. Counselor Fletcher.
Great Village Fire has approximately 35 volunteer members. They're heavily into their communities. They're mutual aid down for District 10 each way. This will be a huge event, 100 years. That's substantial. So I'd like to see them get the full 5,000 for this event.
Okay. Any further discussion? Counselor, do you want to turn your mic on? Counselor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Deputy. Through you to Craig. Fire services are fire services, and they're all need stuff like this. It is what it is. How did you come up with $4,000 when they asked for 5?
Okay, when we look at the application or one of the financial statements, I decided that maybe just supporting the wooden chairs and the wooden tables as a lasting capital purchase for that event. And even some of the giveaways, and that basically totaled taking away the food and the tax out of that budget of about 5,400 brought it down to a 4,000, and that's how I sort of came up with that number as 4.
Thank you.
If I may follow up,
Yes, sure.
I see they also asked for a new sign, so I didn't hear you mention the sign. Anybody that's ever purchased a sign, there's someone else who's spent a fair amount of money on that, so I don't know if the sign's for the hall, if the sign's for the event, but It'd be nice to have a nice sign to go with it if you're gonna do that, but I'm in full support of the 5,000 just because it's a fairly large event and they're spending $20,000 overall. It's not a $10,000 event where we're paying for half it, so thank you.
Councillor Leggett, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm totally in favor of this as well, not only from the fire service, but I believe Great Village might be the oldest volunteer registered fire service in Colchester County, outside of the town of Truro.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Ready for the question? Question's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, on to number 10. The new remote work policy, 6-month trial, and I'll ask our Human Resources Manager, Kelly McIsaac, to address this item, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A remote work policy for staff with a trial period of 6 months is being proposed. The remote work policy consists of 1 day each week that eligible employees may choose to work remotely. The employee can choose their 1 day from 2 days of the week to be their regular remote work day, allowing for 3 days to be anchor days when all employees would be in office. Employees must meet the outlined eligibility conditions and be approved by their manager to work remotely. Managers will have the full discretion to deny or change remote work days and to meet the operational needs. The policy is an important step towards the modernization of our recruitment and retention practices. It will allow us to maintain competitiveness in the evolving labor market and to attract and retain top quality employees. In a retention survey, 71% of staff respondents agreed or strongly agreed that work-life balance and flexible work arrangements are appealing retention initiatives for them. Because of this, we are expecting an increase in work flexibility to have a positive impact on staff morale and the workplace culture. A policy will allow the municipality to create consistency across all departments in how flexible work is offered. Currently, different departments have different practices for remote work, while others are not allowing it at all or awaiting a policy be put in place. This is creating a fairness concern across departments. An established policy, as opposed to an unofficial practice, will also allow us to advertise this offering on job postings to generate higher quality applicants. A 1 day per week trial will allow us to ease into flexible work in a modest fashion, while also gauging the success and keeping pace with the times. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Councillor Patton, please.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to put a motion on the floor that council committee recommends to council that the new 6.25 remote work policy be approved as presented, and then I'd like to speak on it.
We have a seconder for that? Second by Councillor Benoit. I wonder if you could add for a trial period of 6 months
Yes.
to your motion. Is that okay?
Agreed.
It's okay with seconder? Okay. Yeah, so there's a revised version of the policy that was on table. Oh. Just make sure, and it's all the changes are noted in red. You want to speak to it? Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Kelly. I work from home a couple days a week now, and I can tell you, I look forward going into the office for that social aspect. But I get a lot more work done at home, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to work at home. There is one section, Kelly, under remote work policy, sorry, it's number 6. On the second page. Under scheduling, I guess it is. So the second sentence, may request, oh no, that's not a sentence, sorry. Where operationally feasible, may request a one-off remote work day. Where may should be added in there.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Leggett, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kelly.
You turned your mic off.
Oh, sorry.
You'll have to turn yours off. Go.
Councillor Cooper.
Councillor Cooper, you'll have to turn.
Hi, Brian. Thanks, Madam Chair, through to Kelly. I've been working in provincial government for 26 years and went through COVID and people working from home. I gotta say, I saw a lot of people in the government that probably didn't staff up the way they were supposed to. I'm not opposed to trying it. I'm curious to know what metrics we're gonna use to measure it and how it's gonna be presented. Again. My question again. Thank you.
Councillor Martel, please.
Under scheduling, section number 2, second sentence, it says the manager must approve the request. I think the wording of that should be changed. Because that sentence says the manager must approve the request. So if we could change that to it's within their purview to approve the request, or managers would be tasked with approving, but to say a manager must approve a request and have that enshrined in the document, I think we need to change the wording.
You, Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, mixed feelings on this, come back from a little time with COVID. And half staff working, some at home, some at work, things like that. Things that come out of that was the people that didn't have it. Kind of pissed yet the people did have it, so figuring out that balance, who gets what and who should get what, certainly a tough one, and I don't know how that's gonna be dealt with, but the other question I have is, maybe go through to Kelly, I guess, if I could.
Yeah.
So basically, this could happen now anyway. It just is a policy to try to make it uniform, amongst all things. You're just trying. So any department could decide they're gonna let people go home for 2 or 3 days, or not 2 or 3 days or whatever. They can make their own policies now. When I say policy, their internal policy to run their department, how they see fit. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so really, this policy is actually cutting back on what people can do. Really.
Potentially, depending on what's been going on in various departments, it would create consistency for sure.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of all in favor of all departments work differently. Like what they can do and how they can get off. Like at a time here a while ago that all 3 members of our IT staff are off on training. So, some people can be able to do that and other people can't do any of that sort of thing. So I think it's kind of, my feeling is it's kind of really more up to the people that are doing it for the department who can figure out what they need and they don't need. So I'm not in favor of this myself. So I know that Nova Scotia government, my sister works in Nova Scotia government, and they're cutting back on that. She's back to work almost full time now. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Deputy. Through to Kelly, what extra expenses are we gonna incur with this? I know I read where you can't use your own personal PC, so you'd have to probably take home a laptop, or maybe they could give them iPads if we were giving them 1 point, I don't know, but. That's entirely up to them. So how many laptops, or what else do we have to buy here to give those to? If they're going home, I mean, obviously, it's gonna be some costs here to go with it.
Well, I don't have an exact
No.
number on laptops. I don't expect it to be a large amount. Right now, many staff already operate with laptops, not many just use a desktop. So while there would be a handful that would require a laptop, I don't expect that to be a large number at all.
My second point is, well, I can run the private sector for the last 40 years, and any time that I've gone to anybody's house that's done this, they're sitting at their kitchen table with paper spread all over or whatever. I mean, the kitchen table is not an ideal workplace in those homes that I walk into, but I have my own office, and I'm sure other people do, but obviously most people don't have offices in their homes. So they're gonna be using kitchen tables, and they're not very comfortable chairs. So all kinds of things that go along with it. I'm not against it, but I'd like to see it on the same works in 6 months.
Counselor Benoit.
Thank you, Chair. I've seen it at the hospital during COVID. There's been a lot of people that were in the offices that ended up working from home and staying working from home. I'm not against it. I do think it would promote some that people would be a little bit more happier and they can do a little bit of a mix. I would love to work from home. I do have an office at home, but I use my living room mainly for my office and my papers are spread everywhere as well. So I understand that part of it, but I am in favor of it. Try it out for 6 months. I mean, if it doesn't work, then we'll know after 6 months, but I think that's what the trial's for. So I'll approve.
Counselor Beatty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I'm not against this policy. In some cases, however, I think it's going to create a very unfair playing field for all county employees. Because there's a lot of employees that cannot work from home to do their job. So there's only some people that can. Some people are productive, some people aren't. Again, I come from the private sector, and to suggest that you could work from home for 20% of your time, that's quite a bit of time out of the office. Or I don't know how the line on the bail fill would work. I don't know if they're allowed to take product home to keep it, or, I mean, this is not a level playing field. I'm not against this, but I think a lot more thought should go into this.
Counselor Martell, please.
Through the chair to Kelly, with this being a pilot, what actions will be taken to measure the outcome of it so that in 6 months, when we take a look at it, what will you have been measuring to bring back to the table, whether it was a success or failure? And can you explain how that process will work?
Yes, I will be continuously asking for feedback from department managers, and a survey towards the end of the trial period would also be an option to get manager as well as employee feedback.
Counselor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Deputy. So I've read that a couple times. I've never seen the word home in it yet. It says remote work. So remote work, and I think I read within an hour and a half. So I could be at my cottage in Brule and still be working remotely. So let's not talk about home here, the kitchen table. Let's talk about sitting on the back deck with the sun shining, having a cold one could possibly happen too. But I'm saying this is remote work. It's not home.
Counselor Kennedy, please.
I'm really concerned with the 6 months, what, the negativity that's going to be when you tell them, okay, we can't do that now, or if you can do it, it'll be okay, but to bring it back, wow. And government, as Councilor Cooper mentioned, they had a real hard time bringing people back. There was a lot of negativity in the workforce among each other. And then Councilor Weatherby mentioned, it's not fair. There's people that are driving trucks and working in situations that they can't take that time home. So you create an unfair balance within the co-ops. And I've seen it in education where the teachers go to work every day and the people in central office go 3 days a week. And that's caused some problems. So that's my point.
Thank you, Counselor Kennedy. CAO.
Thank you. So through the chair, so a couple of things. First, having introduced this in another municipal unit, every conversation around the table tonight was the exact conversation that happened in that municipal unit. And so a couple of things to layer here. We recognized earlier in the year, we brought in the use of company vehicles as an item to make sure that we were leveling the playing field from how people are using them to who gets to bring them home to how you treat them for tax purposes. And so everybody doesn't have a company vehicle, everybody doesn't use a company vehicle. In this case here, they're absolutely right. There are going to be some employees that this will not be applicable to because their job, it's not part of how this is going to work. In addition, there are situations where managers are going to say this is going to create an issue, and they're going to likely come back and say, because again, the manager has to approve it. You put your toe in the water, and if it doesn't work, okay, either A, you're going to revamp how you're doing it, or B, you're going to say it's not going to work for a particular group. And that may mean that they're in a very different place than those who it does work for them. So at the end of the day, you're looking to see how this is gonna work. The piece that I find the most interesting is that typically when the employees put their heads together and say, this is how we can make sure that we continue to do what we do and how we continue to do it and make something like this work, is they'll find a way to do it. And so it's a huge actual morale boost and amongst those individuals in those settings. 100% agree. Everybody is not going to have the opportunity to do this. And from a work perspective, even those who it could potentially work, it might not. But it's often a valuable exercise to say, here it is, level playing field. If you want to come back with some consideration on how to make it work. And to the conversation of, you're absolutely right. We're not saying that you have to be in your house, but we are saying, and you notice there was a line added here, that we were saying you have to have acceptable workspace. So confidentiality, that all of those other things. And so at the end of the day, we try it and we give it a level playing field for those who it might work. And then at the end of the day, for those who it doesn't, they won't proceed. For those that it does, we bring it back as a conversation to make sure that policy is right.
Thank you, Dan. Councillor Benwell.
Thank you. And Dan pretty much just said what I was thinking with, about it being, the staff might be upset after 6 months of doing it and then they have to go back if that's the path chosen, but I think they'll all know that this is a trial at the beginning, so they know that there's a potential that this may not continue, and after 6 months, they may have to go back to work. I just think, and I agree, there's some staff that may be upset because they're unable to do this, and I think that's pretty much in any workplace that offers this. It's unfortunate, but I think it's great that the municipalities trying to be more open and trying to do things with the best interest of their employees. So it's just a trial. So I think 6 months isn't going to hurt to try it out. Thanks.
I see Kelly's hands up over there. Please, Kelly.
If I can just speak to the imbalance concern, this was absolutely something that was thought about in the development of the policy. We met with directors to get their opinions on their staff, and this was probably the primary concern that was brought up. And the way that we tend to view it is that imbalances already exist amongst different types of work, different departments, different natures of work. Some employees work inside, some work outside, some have cell phones, some do not, some have access to municipal vehicles, others do not. So we do view it as a perk to some different types of work. And I think other employees will come to realize that as well with time.
Thank you, Kelly. Councillor Cooper, please.
Thank you, Chair. So just to put it clearly out there, this is already happening. So everybody says we're gonna try something. It's not that this isn't already here, it's already here. So this policy is to make it quote fair and level for everybody. That's the part that I have the trouble with, the time that's going on. Because I think all departments are different. And I think that probably Department A does 2 days a week, Department B does 0, and Department 3 does 1 right now. Well, it probably works for them. There's a flexibility fact, and there's a lot of different aspects of why people would get extra time to be away and, be able to put hours in and after hours and things like that. So I still don't support this just because of the fact I think I like leaving it up to departments to figure it out. I understand why they're doing it. It's, not everybody's the same anyway, and so we get this, and look at that, trying to make it across everything. It's a policy, but I think sometimes you just have too many policies, so myself, I'm not gonna support it.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. I believe our Director of Corporate Services would like to speak. Scott?
Thank you. I just had a couple of points from some of the discussion I heard tonight, and there's been a few things mentioned, but I think going back to one item that was brought up here by Councillor Martel on the wording, and I just wanted to sort of clarify that the language in there wasn't intended, I don't think, to be authoritarian. I think it's just standard practice that when we say must in a policy, we're saying that the manager has to make the call. So it's not going to be left up to, employees or, to make their decision. It has to be the manager's decision on how to do that. And it also gives the manager some flexibility in the policy on how to manage their department and have work from home or remote work. We did choose to use the term remote work as opposed to homework because we felt that homework, using the term work from home could be a bit misleading in some cases. It may not always be the right terminology. In terms of having a policy around this, I have to say that when there's a lack of policy around these types of personnel items, I feel it can lead to inequality, and I don't support it. I don't support not having council's approval on it, whether we do it or not. Case in point, tomorrow I decide Kelly's going to work from home for 5 days for the next 6 weeks. It doesn't sound very good to me, but if we're all allowed to do what we want to do, and it's free reign without policy and without rules to sort of guide and provide guidance to managers, then that's fair game, I guess. So I think when you make this decision, you're saying you support remote work and giving it a trial run. And then you give managers the flexibility to manage it under the CAO.
Thank you, Scott. Councillor Patton, please.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't realize I was next. Kudos to the municipality, Kelly, Scott, everybody, for being forward thinking on this. The province, to Councillor Cooper's point, the province has recalled all management, not unionized staff as yet. And as far as remote working, I have Wi-Fi in the barn, and if I have an emergency vet call, I'm still got my laptop out there. How many times have we reached out to any number of staff here and they've responded to us in the evening? So they're all going above and beyond at this point anyway. So I think if we can offer this to them and to anyone new coming in, we're going to attract the best because this is the way business is going.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Deputy. Like I said, I'm not against it. One last thing. Does this affect any non-unionized or unionized? Is it all non-unionized staff that we're talking about here?
Yes, it would be just non-union.
Okay.
Councillor Martell, please.
Thank you. I absolutely support all policies that strengthen governance, and whatever policies are passed, you always have the opportunity to bring it back to the table. Working remotely is not unique. I'm sure there are staff that are doing it now, and this gives us that opportunity to strengthen what we are willing to do and not do as far as allowing people to work remotely. My comment about the sentence that says the manager must approve the request was not authoritative. It's a blanket statement that, is open for interpretation with the semantics of saying that a request would be approved, that the manager must approve the request. So it wasn't authoritarian. I do agree. I love policy because it allows you to make good decisions based on what's in front of you. And if at some point we feel that after the 6 months trial period that it's not working, then we can adjust the policy to make it work better. It's really hard to find good staff. And anyone that is out there trying to hire people right now knows that the quality of candidates is not always what is needed within an organization. And it's far easier to retain good staff than it is to try and hire new ones. So I will be voting to approve the policy, and I look forward to seeing how the trial goes in 6 months.
Thank you, Councillor Martell. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. I just feel I have to respond to, so I think there's a opinion here that's wrong. I'm not saying that people shouldn't get this. I'm going to say I'm not going to approve this policy. People already have this ability to do this. So this policy is not giving anything to them. all those policies do is making it straight across all the departments, everybody gets the same thing. And that's the part I disagree with. So that's the part I'm just reading of the policy is that everybody gets the one day where some departments work differently than others, and there may be more need for somebody to have days rather than the other departments, so. So, yeah, if we wanted to have bring a thing forward and say, you know, we're not gonna have any days off, you're gonna work, any days from home, you're gonna work here. That'd be a whole different ballgame, we have to bring that up, and I don't know where that would go. Like, would be wouldn't go very well, I don't think, but anyway. So, right now, that's all I'm doing, I'm just saying I don't agree with, straight across the board, everybody's the same thing, that's in a policy. We're saying each department should have their own ability to function, because they're all different, so, I think so.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Ready for the question? And I can remind you, the motion is that council committee recommends to council that the new 6.25 remote work policy be approved as presented for a trial period of 6 months. Are you ready for the question's been called? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay.
Hey.
Councillor Cooper, Councillor Kennedy. 2 are nays. Motion is carried. Thank you, Kevin. Now we have the new employee background check policy, and Kelly, you're going to handle this one as well, please.
Thank you. The municipality has a number of employees, both permanent and seasonal, who work with children. There is presently no defined internal standard on what background checks are required, how often they are required, or what happens when an employee does not submit a requested background check. For municipal employees who do not work with vulnerable populations, no form of background check is currently being required upon hire. This policy is based on standards from several public sector and sport organizations and introduces several new key rules. All staff working with vulnerable populations will need to submit both a vulnerable sector check and a child abuse registry check every 3 years. The exception is returning seasonal staff who submitted these checks within the previous 3 years and were employed with the municipality less than 12 months ago, and they will have the option to sign the newly created background check waiver form to verify that the status of these checks has not changed. Staff are not allowed to start working with vulnerable populations until they have submitted satisfactory checks or signed the waiver if eligible. Every effort will be made to get the same background checks from volunteers. And all new hires in all roles will need to submit a regular criminal record check. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Kelly? Councillor Benoit?
No question, but I'll make a motion.
Sure.
That council committee recommends council that the new 5.13 background check personnel policy be approved as presented.
Seconder?
Second.
Councillor Kennedy? Anything further? Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Patton?
To Kelly. Kelly, just one question. Are we asking even those who don't work with vulnerable population to have this background?
We are asking new hires of all roles to have a regular criminal record check. And we're asking those who work with vulnerable populations to have a vulnerable sector check and a child abuse registry check.
Thank you.
Anything further? Councillor Cooper, please.
If I go, you to Kelly, please.
Yes.
Bolt down here. The waiver will allow for easy rehiring of returning seasonal employees. Aims to avoid the delay to their start of work. Some background checks may take several weeks to return. Is that a common practice that it takes that long for checks to come back?
Yeah.
The child abuse registry check in particular can take about 2 to 3 weeks, yes.
Longer.
So there's nothing we can do to speed that up. I guess we have no control of that at all. Okay, all right, no, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Ready for the question? Question's been called. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Kelly. Right, item number 12 is our marketing levy bylaw change request. Over to Jen Manton, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The item before council this evening is a follow-up regarding correspondence that was sent forward by the owners of the Four Seasons Retreat and Economy. At the April 2025 council meeting, correspondence was received from Mr. and Mrs. Knight, and they requested that council consider specifically 3 items regarding the marketing levy. The first one being that expense deductions. They were looking to see if the marketing levy bylaw could be amended such that operators would be allowed to deduct administration costs from their collected levy amounts. Their second comment was they voiced concern with the shift from quarterly remittance requirements to a monthly remittance and reporting requirement. And then the third comment was that they're requesting the ability to remit the levy via online banking that would reduce their costs and simplify their remittance process. The correspondence from Mr. and Mrs. Knight is included in your item this evening. That's attachment number 1. So to give you some comments on all 3 items, the first being expense deductions. We've done an analysis on this request, and it's not a common practice when it comes to tax collection at any level of government. It also there would really be no way to ensure accurate deduction claims were removed from the levy, and we're recommending that council do not consider this request. The second item is the quarterly versus monthly reporting. So we're now 1 year into administrating this levy. It's become clear that quarterly reporting is not quite frequent enough to provide any type of sufficient oversight with the marketing levy program. And as a result, staff have requested operators begin monthly reporting as opposed to quarterly reporting. We are still allowing quarterly reporting because our bylaw does state that. However, operators for the most part are completely comfortable and prefer monthly reporting. This has been a singular request out of 150 operators. And we suggest that we actually look at revising the bylaw to reflect a monthly remitting and reporting requirement as opposed to a quarterly reporting requirement. I'll also note that we've implemented a few different items to create ease of remittance and reporting. We now have a direct website, so operators can simply go on to a municipally managed website, submit their monthly report, and then either directly pay online there, or then mail in or come into the office and pay. And we also have a marketing levy coordinator who's assisting operators with this process and essentially guiding them if they need assistance. So it's become very streamlined. Operators are very happy and seem comfortable with this process. I'll also note that we've also added an option for seasonal operators to suspend their registration. So if you're not operating during the winter or off-season months, you don't have to continually be reporting monthly. You just have to suspend your registration until such time you open again. So it's really eliminating any type of no reporting or redundancy. And from a monthly reporting perspective, it'll also allow ease when it comes time to start to transfer funds to the Tourism Society. We need to ensure sustainable funding for them, and by collecting on a monthly basis, this will allow for ease through that process. The third comment was the request on the payment options. We do currently offer multiple payment options, electronic fund transfers for larger operators, in-person payments, mail-in options, and then online credit card. We are actually looking into online direct banking. It's under review. We can't guarantee that it's possible, but we are looking into the option, as it could be a good option to provide ease of within the ways that operators can pay the municipality for the marketing levy. So we'll continue to explore that option and provide council with an update once we have an answer, or if that option becomes available. So the recommendation is this evening that there is no change to the levy regarding deductions for collecting the levy tax. However, we do consider switching the remittance periods from quarterly to monthly. Thank you, and happy to answer questions if there is any.
Thank you, Jen. Councillor Fletcher, please.
Through the chair to Jen.
Would you like to put a motion on the floor first?
Yes.
Oh, no. You need clarification before you put a
Sorry.
motion on the floor? Yeah, sure.
Well, no. Sorry. I'd like to make a motion that with the marketing levy bylaw change request that. Actually, I gotta ask a question first.
Yep, go ahead.
Is there any, through to Jen? It was brought to my attention about, it was costing them money to do this. Is there any way to cut that?
May through the chair to the councillor. So, of course, there's a cost to administration when you own a business. So yes, they would have probably staff that need to do the calculations of the marketing levy as per their regular monthly bookkeeping. If they use a credit card service, that service might charge them an amount to collect all of their fees, not just the monthly levy amount. So their monthly, let's just say they have a room rental for $200. They would charge the service company that they would use might charge them an amount. So those costs are going to be variable for every single business. And unfortunately, there's really no way to manage or understand the cost and impact for each individual business. I will say that I've spoken to a numerous amount of businesses specific to the levy, and the cost of doing business and collecting the taxes is nominal. And this is a singular complaint out of 150 operators.
Another question through the chair to Jen. The monthly reporting instead of quarterly. It was harder to get a grip on it, or like for the reporting, but wouldn't it have been easier for the businesses or accommodations to do it quarterly? Like less workload on them?
If I may, through the chair. Yeah, correct. I mean, it's 12 reports versus 4. However, I don't know if it's just because it's a new program, but with the onboarding, it's eased a lot of operators' stress. They seem to be much more comfortable. I think it's similar to GST, HST in the way that every quarter, sometimes that's a very large sum. And then all of a sudden they're taking that large sum out of their cash flow, whereas this is more manageable for operators. Again, you know, we're speaking to multiple operators and none of them have really voiced concern. We do, from an administrative perspective, the oversight piece has been tough when we were collecting on a quarterly basis, to, you know, have regular, I guess, communications with these operators has caused ease. And then we're also ensuring that we are receiving payment, because we were having a massive issue initially with actually receiving and collecting the amounts on a quarterly basis. So it might be a little bit more work, yes, for the operators. But again, nominal right now, it probably takes 2 minutes to put your report in online.
And one more question through the chair to Jen. This e-transfer, do you know any timeline on when that might be? If it could happen.
Scott can probably speak better to me than this, but it's a bit of a process, is my understanding. You know, it's through our banking service. It's a little bit convoluted. We've put a request forward, and I think it could be up to weeks or months before we hear back from our banking system. So,
thank you. I'd like to make a motion, please. For the marketing levy bylaw changed, that we amend it for still for quarterly, not monthly, and try, I don't know. This is okay. Sorry.
There is a suggested motion there, and you're suggesting that the second part of the suggested motion not happen. Maybe Dennis, you.
Yeah, you wouldn't need any motion if you don't want to amend the bylaw. You
Right,
just
you don't
stay
need to.
silent.
Yeah, okay, stay
You
silent.
don't have a motion to say we don't amend the bylaw.
Yeah, because it's already quarterly.
So if the focus is to allow operators, that's where the motion is going. To allow the operator to just modify it and drop the not, if that's the motion you want to put on the table.
If I may, just a quick comment.
Yes.
We're also comfortable from an administrative perspective allowing those who prefer to continue reporting quarterly. I suspect it will be very few. And that's the intent right now, is where if you prefer to collect or to remit quarterly, we're comfortable with that.
All right.
But you want to formalize a monthly. Okay. Dennis. Okay. Counselor Fletcher, what are your wishes?
I apologize. Okay, that the council committee recommends that council, Colchester not allowed operators to deduct credit card processing fees and other related expenses from the marketing levy remittance, and the municipality proceed with amendments to the marketing levy bylaw to formally reflect a monthly or quarterly remittance model. Is that okay?
Go ahead, Dan.
So, to be clear, just through the chair, so you only need the first part of that. We already have the
Okay.
second part of that.
Sorry.
So if you want to make the motion, council committee recommend to council not allow operators to deduct credit card processing fees or other related expense from the marketing levy remittances.
Correct.
It will remain quarterly.
Yes.
That's in the bylaws right now. We
Yeah.
don't have to speak to that.
Okay.
So first part of the motion then is to not allow operators to deduct. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Counselor Weatherby. You want to speak further on that?
No.
Okay, you can turn your mic. Counselor Cooper, please.
Thank you, Chair. Okay. So that, yeah, so that in fact still leaves us the ability to do quarterly or monthly for those things. Got a question, I guess I'll go through to Jen. Hey Mentis. I don't know them, but anyway, so you use them to pay by credit card, they charge to do that.
Correct. So they are a third-party platform and the fees go direct to Paymentus. We have no oversight on that fee, or we don't collect that fee and remit it back to Paymentus. It's all sent a third party.
But somebody pays you using that one, they have to pay a fee.
Correct, yeah, and that's our online option, so it'd be the same as any tax bill, water utility. If you choose to pay via credit card, the Paymentus would charge that service fee.
Okay. I guess the trouble I have with that is some business, private business for almost 50 years. You know, someone, pays a credit card, you accept the fact that you're getting something from them. You're accepting the 2% or whatever they're paying. You gotta pay to have somebody provide that service for you. And I certainly wouldn't want to change that to what they're paying us. Somebody pays those other people, it's the same thing, they are doing their business. Now we want them to pay us, but they go to pay us, and now we're charging them to pay us. I am serious trouble with that. I really disagree with that. I think if somebody's paying us, we should be charging them to pay us. So, if you take your credit card somewhere, nobody charges you to use your credit card. But if they pay here, you're getting charged to use your credit card to pay us, sort of thing. So I'm really having trouble with that.
I think our CAO would like to comment on that.
Sure.
Through the chair. So, first remember, this is not a revenue for us. It's a levy that's going into a pool.
Right.
And so you want that entire levy to land in the pool to be able to do the things that the new board is going to authorize. So anything that deducts from that shrinks the pool. So you can either make the decision that you're going to only accept one or two ways that don't have any impact on how much you're going to collect. So many businesses will go cash or debit only, no credit, because they don't want credit because then it reduces their bottom line. In this case, we're saying if you want to pay by credit, here's the 5 other ways you could do it. If you want to use credit card, there's a premium for using that credit card. And we don't want that to come from the pool. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you can say no credit card, and then there would be no negative fee associated with it. But in order, and again, this is not revenue to the municipality. It's money for a levy that's going to go back to the sector. So instead of having deductions from that levy, we want the entire levy that's collected to go in. And there's all kinds of other ways you can pay that doesn't have that fee. But if you want to use your credit card, there's a fee.
Regardless, we're collecting it. We're the ones that are collecting, we're making it happen. So. That's, in fact, we don't make any money on it, that's irrelevant to me. That's, so I really, really find that hard. I don't know why we can't have a credit card thing, because I totally agree with them, like what they're bringing up there, like it's, way to pay, I can phone any service I want right now and give my credit card and pays it, doesn't cost me anything, I don't know why we can't have that. Why can't we just have a credit card, deal with Visa, they take care of this for us and they phone up and we just accept the number over the phone and everything else, and then it says paid, the person doesn't pay anything. I just find the concept, really bad, that we expect them to, accept the fact that they're collecting that money and using the credit card companies charge them a fee to collect it. Then they go to pay it and we're gonna charge them again to pay it, sort of thing, like they're paying twice, I don't agree with that, so. I think there should be a way that we can do regular credit card. And deal with that, I think the county is being cheap, so I think for everybody. Like, that's my feelings, and like I say, if we charge, if we are getting charged, we can get collected back and everybody else anyway. Person paying it to us, shouldn't have to pay it, they don't have any way to get it back. If they're gonna pay it to pay Menace, and they're gonna charge them something, they should be able to collect that from us, so. And we get it back from the from the association, whatever it is that we've got covering this whole thing now, Forest Association. So the way that's worded now, the option is that the first part of that says they can't, so we keep making them pay that, they can't get it back anymore. So I don't agree with that motion as it reads at all.
Okay, we move on.
Yes, sir.
Vote against.
Counselor Patton, please.
Thank you, Chair, through you to Jen. I guess the key point is they have options. But my question is, with the electronic funds transfer for larger operations, can we designate smaller operations can do an EFT as well, or? Why just larger, I guess is my question.
Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but so larger operators would have the system set up to pay a larger lump sum and it'd be direct EFT. There'd be a lot more management, so we're trying to find the alternate route, which would be to have the municipality as an online payable. So we're just really trying to evaluate what are the best practices. We definitely are trying to find alternate ways for smaller operators to pay, as we are trying to evaluate those options. We're just not quite there yet.
Thank you.
Counselor Benwell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Not to prolong this, but maybe that's just what Councillor Patton asked, what I'm wondering, through you to maybe Scott or Jen. I was just trying to figure out, like, if people are able to pay online for property taxes and different things. I was just trying to figure out why it would take a few months for them to be able to pay online, but maybe that's the same thing that you were kind of asking.
Yeah, it's a different system. When you pay online for your property tax, you have your property account tax account number, and so when we set it up with the bank, you go in and you put in your property tax account, and it links to that. For this, it would be different. So vendor or I guess like the vendors or suppliers that are out there, they couldn't use their property tax account because it would pay their taxes.
Yeah, no, sorry, I understand that. I just thought it would be just as simple to go through banking to set up as an online payee or something. I don't know how that looks, but I just thought it might be it.
Yeah, it does take a bit of time. We had to do it with the Debert water utility a few years ago. I think it was, if I remember, this was going back a few years, but at one point the folks in the Debert area couldn't pay, they couldn't pay it through, online banking. And it took us a little while to get it set up, but it's just a process you have to go through with the bank.
Okay, sure, but you are looking into it, so that's all that matters. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Johnson.
Thank you. Just to put things in perspective here, we've been running this program for almost a year. We've collected a little over $500,000, and we hear from one operator down the shore and writing to the council table. What does that tell you? So I think they're fine.
Mayor Blair.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to Jen. The second part of the proposed motion was that the municipality proceed with amendments to the marketing levy bylaw to formally reflect a monthly remittance model. Right now, we have the quarterly. We can do quarterly. There is, but do we want to have quarterly as an option and monthly as to be included? Because as I understand it from this, monthly is not included right now. Is that accurate? Is that correct?
If I may, through the chair, right now the bylaw states that operators are required to remit on a quarterly basis. So they at minimum have to remit their fees every quarter. So right now, just by conversation and practice, we've been asking operators to follow a monthly remittance practice, which has been received well aside from this instance. And we are finding that administratively, it would provide an ease, certainly for frequency of collection, so that we also have concerns as we work to develop this tourism society that we want to provide a sustainable funding source, and collecting quarterly could provide a hurdle there.
But it was mentioned that quarterly could be an option in certain circumstances. So you still want to have, for the purposes of this, for the amendments to the marketing levy bylaw, you would still want to have monthly included in writing so that it's done? Okay. Then I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor that the municipality.
No, I don't think we can just yet.
She still has more time.
Oh,
Yeah.
we haven't voted on it yet?
No, no.
So we haven't.
And we can entertain a different motion, Mayor Blair. We can have a different motion after we deal with this one. Yeah. So this motion was made by Councilor Fletcher a while ago. And it's the first part of the suggested motion. So are you ready for the question on that one? The question's been called. Oh, sorry, Councilor Martell. All right.
I have heard concerns in my area. I know that one particular constituent wrote to myself, I believe addressed it to the mayor, I believe addressed it to Jen. There's certainly a feeling that the levy, they feel affects the rural communities more so in some ways, that it's an extra burden for them. They also, in general, they don't want to have to pay it. They feel that many of the people that come to their locations come every year, that they don't need to advertise. I personally believe that having a tourism focused society will help all of us improve our tourism offering here, will help with many aspects of getting our area more attention on the tourism stage. And I have hope for the future for what happens once our society gets to work. But the pain in getting these things off the ground makes people uncomfortable. It's not always pretty. There are some sacrifices that have to be made in getting it moving. And again, with policies and governance, we can change those things after. I really don't feel that we should be providing rebates to constituents or businesses that are paying the levy for the fact that they are collecting it. It happens in so many other jurisdictions. We all travel, we pay that little levy on the hotel room, and we know that that is betterment for the tourism marketing within those regions. It's unfortunate that we do have someone that is very resistant to wanting to participate in the program. And while I understand that, I am looking forward to seeing how the Tourism Society and the marketing levy does benefit our people. And I will be watching that as it unfolds to make sure that it's fair to all our areas and that everyone is benefiting that's in that industry.
Thank you, Councilor Martell. Are we ready for the question? Question has been called. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Councilor Cooper is a nay. The motion carries. Mayor Blair, did you want to make another motion?
Yes, thank you. That the municipality proceed, I move that the municipality proceed with amendments to the marketing levy bylaw to formally reflect a monthly remittance model.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Councilor Cooper.
Have an amendment to that?
Mayor Blair, can you turn, are you?
I'm sorry.
Okay. You'd like to make an amendment?
Yes, I'd like to make amendment that it allows in some circumstances for quarterly remitting.
He does. I'll ask our solicitor.
You can certainly preserve the discretion to allow for reporting.
Do we need a motion to?
I don't, it's already in the bylaw that it's quarterly. So all this is doing is reflecting that it could be monthly remittance as well, as I understand it. Okay, and then, well, maybe Jen will have to clarify what she's looking for. I understood she wanted both, but maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't need an amendment to add something that's already in the bylaw, so the bylaw would just reflect that remittance could be monthly or quarterly, depending on circumstances or such wording like that.
We're not taking away the option.
Also, I think you need the word also in that if you're gonna do that.
Well, the current bylaw is quarterly.
Yes, because it doesn't say in addition to.
Says amendment.
Most of the time you get something that says this, it's replacing what you got. You're doing an amendment to make it monthly rather than quarterly. It doesn't say in addition to quarterly. I think you need to have something in there like also formally reflect a monthly remittance.
So rather than an amendment, could maybe Mayor Blair, you
Word
could
also in
add
there.
that to your motion?
I'll do whatever it takes.
Councilor Cooper, can you?
May I suggest that
Yes,
Yeah.
suggestion from the solicitor on this.
No,
rather than formally reflect, to enable a monthly remittance model?
to enable.
Okay.
That
Enable.
solves it. Thank you, Dennis.
I will amend the motion that the municipality proceed with amendments to the marketing levy to
Formally enable.
enable a monthly remittance model.
Okay.
And that be added to.
You're okay with that as a seconder? So everybody understands the motion?
What's that say again? I'd like to have it read again.
That the municipality proceed with amendments to the marketing levy bylaw to enable a monthly remittance model.
Still doesn't cover it.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Because it currently already.
Because
Go
it's
ahead.
quarterly now, and by enabling a monthly, you're just adding that into the.
We're not
bylaw.
taking away the
The
quarterly.
word enable is also. Okay, no.
The seconder's okay with that?
Yes.
Motion? Are we ready for the question?
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Okay, we've got a 12B, and that's concerning a motion that we'd like to, that was handed to us, Councilor Cooper, a while ago. You wanted this added to the agenda?
Yes, well, presentation night, there was a.
Turn your mic on, please.
Sorry. Presentation night, there was a presentation from executive director of the Colchester Library Board. And brought up concerns regarding the funding models and how it was not being updated and that they were dipping in reserves to enable to function with the library. fashion it's in now. And that can only happen for so long before we run into reserves, sort of thing. So they were requesting that we send a motion to NSFM, request that this be put on for advisory committee review to deal with the problems on it. At the NSFM conference, Deputy Minister was there, and he stated right there, if that came forward, he'd talk about it, something. So I'm gonna take him at his word. Told me he'd buy me a beer, and he did. So that trust he's gonna do that too. So anyway, so yes, I don't know what I'd need to do in the way of a motion. How'd that read? So,
At NSFM, Councillor Graham from the town of Truro circulated a motion that went to all the
Circulated motion.
tables. We could get that from her, and perhaps that's something staff could have a look at.
Okay, that's one we'll deal with that. Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Graham has it.
Yeah.
I have it somewhere where it
Okay,
is right
so I'll
now.
make that motion.
So refer it to staff to get the wordage from.
Yeah, they'll get the
Councillor Graham.
the proper wording to make it so they'll do what we're trying to do there. So.
Okay, do I need a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Martell.
Yeah. Yes.
Any further discussion?
Question.
Questions called, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. That motion's carried. Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Okay, we're moving on to our information items, and then we have a director's report from our Director of Corporate Services. Are there any questions for Scott? This very detailed report. Councillor Cooper, did you want to say anything?
Mike's still on.
Okay, Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Chair. Scott. Scott, under the personnel policies, it mentions the social media policy. Is that personal or the municipal social media?
That's the municipality's social media.
Okay.
Well, just a second, let me
Why it falls under.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I
go ahead,
believe,
Dennis.
Scott, that came out of a need for some clarity for personal use of social media and
Right.
responsibility around being an employee of the municipality. Just setting some parameters and expectations about what you may or may not post on social media about your boss or the municipality.
Sure, okay, great.
I think that's the interface with the personnel.
yeah, that's what it was.
And one more question, Chair. if you don't
Yes.
mind. Through you to Phil, 100% coverage on the wind turbine. Yay, okay, thank you.
Yes. Councillor Cooper.
Yes, just had one question under the culture section. Yeah. That sounds like a great new program. I was just wondering if the plan was to bring people that receive the awards, have that at the same night as the service. With time service awards or something.
We haven't discussed that yet, but it's something we might it might be something we could consider doing, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks.
No. All right. We're moving on then to our in-camera session. I would happy to receive a motion to go in camera. Moved by Councillor Weatherby, second by Councillor Patton. We are now in camera. We'll take a 5-10 minute break. 5. Okay.
3.
Keep it going is what you're saying.